Welcome to The Local Lens. I'm Jenny Pastisak, and joining me today is Seth Hershberger, the Executive Director of the Wicomico County Public Library. Thanks for joining me, Seth.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you, Jenny.
So the library has been making headlines, and there's questions. Our library is moving, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We're moving two of our locations.
Okay, let's talk about that first, because that's been in the news,
Mm-hmm.
and that way we can clear things up, if people have additional questions.
Sure.
You want to talk about the flagship building first?
Right, and so that's the downtown library. That's the Paul S. Sarbanes Library that the board about 3.5 years ago named in honor of the former senator from Salisbury. The Paul S. Sarbanes Library there's been a library downtown in Salisbury since the 60s when they renovated a former armory to be a library. That's where we are now, in that library. And it was renovated once more in the 70s, where they put a mid-century facade around the old building. And that's the library we've been in since then.
Wow.
So that's the building that the ownership of that building, the county owns it. The ownership is going to transfer to the university, to Salisbury University. Meanwhile, what was the former Ward Museum, that property and the 10 acres it's on will become the property of the county. And design work and engineering is already underway to renovate that space into the future home of Wicomico Public Library.
And I know it's exciting, knowing that Ward Museum is beautiful and on the water and the view, just the view, period.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people saying, well, we like the library downtown. There's still going to be some kind of presence downtown?
Yes, the board has committed to that, and the capital improvement plan for the county includes funding to establish a new, much smaller library, 6,000 to 8,000 square feet, for a library that will be downtown to serve the people who live downtown and who live around there. And we're really excited about that, too, to make that an exciting, a really cool space that's just for downtown folk.
Sure.
And to serve them with that. Meanwhile, our main library, our main branch, which really needs to be accessible to everybody across the county, families with young children, seniors, it can be much more accessible there, we believe, at the Shoemaker Pond location. And we're excited to have a library that the entire community can belong to, all of Wicomico, and that everybody can be really proud of.
Definitely. The space is beautiful. You have another library. You have multiple libraries here in the county, and there's another one, the Pittsville branch, moving to Parsonsburg.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, so the library there in Pittsville has been in a temporary building, a trailer, for 20 years now. So we're really excited that it's going to move out of that trailer and move into a building that's now under construction in Parsonsburg. So just 3 miles up the road, in what will be a really beautiful space there to serve the residents on the east side of Wicomico. We're really glad that they'll have a library that belongs to them. And we're also really excited that the county council and the library board just voted together to name that library in honor of the former Secretary of Agriculture, who is also a former senator for the state and was also a former member of council. That's Lewis R. Riley, so it will be the Lewis R. Riley Library. So we're really excited to open the Riley Library soon.
Well, my boys, when they were in public school, they went to Pittsville Middle School. And I remember visiting the small trailer, and it was tiny. But when you think about, even just a library close to a middle school, an elementary school, that's really important for our entire county to have access to.
Right, exactly. So your sons would have been able to, after school, just to walk over and pop in at the trailer. That's where we still are and will be for a few more months. We're actually on school property in that trailer. We lease the trailer, but very soon we're going to have better than that. Right now, if you want to visit that library, it's pretty hard to do because there's not a lot of parking, and it's such a small space. It's really just for going in and grabbing your library materials, and then you're out. But the new space is going to have meeting rooms. It's going to have a lot of comfortable furniture. It's designed so a lot of natural light comes in from the beautiful spaces around it. It's just a place there, right there in Parsonsburg, where I think people with families are going to enjoy going in there and spending time and just being together with their community.
I think that's important to emphasize, because it's not, libraries aren't just somewhere to go pick up a book and leave. And we were talking a little bit before we started the interview, just the relevancy of libraries today. They're still very relevant. You know, just because there's Google, not that Google's right all the time. You know, let's talk about the relevancy of libraries today.
Right, sure. Yes, libraries have evolved to be much more than just a warehouse for books, or even a place where there's story times and books you can go and pick up. Libraries are really about supporting quality of life for the people who live in the community, a place where people come together, a place where people can come in and collaborate together or work together or have meetings together. That's the vision we have for our libraries here in Wicomico, that they would be housed in beautiful library spaces, but also provide the kind of services beyond just books, reading material, but to facilitate those connections with the community. We have books too. We love books. And we've got a lot of books and we've got a lot of readers in our county, and we're proud. We love every single one of them. And we try to have the kinds of reading materials that everybody wants, because we got all kinds of people here, different backgrounds, different walks of life. So you're going to be able to come into our library and find a book or other library materials that you like. But we're also trying to, even for people who don't necessarily read, trying to give them lots of reasons to come into the library too.
You know, a friend of mine told me about, she's a member of the YMCA, and she can go to the Y, you know, order books, and they're so it's, you know, it's accessibility.
Right.
You guys offer, you just deliver the books to the Y?
That's right. We have what we call a book locker there.
Okay.
We have those around the county, but the one in the YMCA there, how that works is we have a lot of patrons who will place requests for books that we may or may not have on our shelf.
Okay.
And then those books get brought from wherever they are. It could be from anywhere in the state, and those are placed on hold for that patron. You can say you want to pick that up at the locker in YMCA, and then we put that in there for you. You scan your library card, the locker that it's in pops open, and there's your books.
So even if you don't have it on your shelves in your library, you can get it.
Yes, for sure. We have access to libraries actually across the country. So if you're wanting to read something, we can find it for you, whether we own it or not.
That's great. Let's talk, like you said, we have books, but you have some programs and experiences that you offer to the community. Can we talk about some of those programs?
Yeah, and that's a really important part of and that's always been something that libraries have done, which is to have those programs that bring in families or that connect people around unique shared interests. Of course, story times are kind of our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And, you know, people bring their kids in. That's one of the times in a person's life that they tend to connect with the library most often, when they have young children. And we love that. So we have those kinds of programs. We have programs for adults. We have book clubs. We have special programs that really highlight the unique things about our community or the unique communities that we have. We try to reach out to different areas of the community and show them that the library can be a place for them. Libraries are so great about helping people connect with their community and feel like they belong here too. Even if they're a recent immigrant, they can realize, oh, this is a public resource that this community has set up just for me and my family too, and it's for all of us. So we have, and we're really good at partnering too. The library is a great partner, and helping different agencies and not-for-profits or community groups to showcase what they do through the library and through our ability to connect with a ready audience.
My nieces dance, and the Nutcracker is a performance. I've gone to the library to see kind of an abbreviated version of the Nutcracker where they dance. So they brought their show to the library, and they kind of made it a little bit smaller, but then that way, if people can't go see the full production, they can go to the library.
I remember that program. Yeah, we do that a lot. I had a meeting just this morning with somebody from the courts. They're going to come into the library and put on programs that they have where they provide free legal services for people in the community. Because there's an audience of people that are already coming in.
Yes.
That works great. We partner with the schools a lot, including a program called Battle of the Books, where we provide books, the same set of books, to students who all read it, and then they compete basically to answer trivia questions based on those books.
Really?
With different schools on the teams from the schools. And those kind of partnerships are really fun for us. and also help us reach people that have never come into the library before
Yeah.
and realize how much is there for them.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And a little competition doesn't
Yeah,
hurt
sure.
anyone.
Yeah, it encourages people to read. Again, we really like to be a champion for reading and encouraging that from a young age. We really love to see families bringing in their kids because I feel like if they're exposed to that early on, they can form a lifelong love of reading that ends up shaping their entire life and leading to a much higher quality of life for them.
And you don't have to have the money to go buy your own books.
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
library is there
Yes,
at your disposal.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. I love bookstores too.
Me too.
But
Me too.
it's awful easy to go in and spend a lot of money.
Very much so.
And the library is one place where, maybe one of the last few places in the world where there's no expectation for you to spend money. You just come in, you're just there, you belong there,
Yeah.
and nobody's waiting for you to buy something.
So let's actually talk about the future of the library
Mm-hmm.
and just the vision, because how long have you been the executive director?
I've been here for coming up on 4 years now.
Okay. That was a fast 4 years.
Yeah, it has gone by quickly. It's a great community. I've loved learning about it and getting to be a part of it. But it was also great to see how much energy and excitement there was about the future of the library coming here and to tap into that. And the opportunities that have come up are just so exciting for us, including the opportunity to establish a beautiful library there on the shores of Shoemaker Pond. We're going to have one of the most beautiful libraries in the country. And it's just so exciting to be a part of that and to be right here in Wicomico while that's happening.
And from what I understand, you have a foundation, because all of this can't happen without support.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about your foundation?
Right. It's, that building, the Shoemaker Pond building, is 30 years old itself, and it needs a lot of upgrades, and including extensive renovations so that it can be adapted for use as a library. We have had unprecedented support, both from the state and from the county government. The state is contributing over $6 million for this whole project, including $3 million of which is in the budget, in the capital budget for this year.
Okay.
And the county is matching that at certain levels, so they're putting up millions as well for this project. But because of the expense, we also needed a lot of support from the community. So we have set up a foundation, and there's a great group of people that are working on a capital campaign. Just beginning really to get started on that, but that will be raising money to support that specific project, the relocation of the main library from downtown to Shoemaker Pond.
So let's talk about the different services that the library offers to the community and basically opens doors for people like me.
Right, sure. Yeah, the library does, we talked about books and the programs, but we also provide a lot of access to technology that a lot of folks would have a hard time accessing, or that would just be more difficult to access. And part of that is our digital content, because if it were a branch, our second largest by far would be our digital resources, the kinds of materials that you don't have to visit the library to access. You can just go on the library's website. And so if you have an active library card,
Yes.
you can go on the website and download ebooks. You can download digital audiobooks right to your phone.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you'd be paying a premium for those resources. And we have a great collection that's managed by a consortium for all of the Eastern Shore. And so sometimes you have to wait a little bit for some of the most popular things, like you place a hold just like you would on another item. But you can eventually access the digital content of those books, whether it's to listen to it or
Sure.
to read it on your phone or on a tablet. So that's one really great way that technology is impacting the library. We also, of course, have computers in the library that people can use.
Yes.
We have free Wi-Fi. Again, no expectation that you buy anything. You can just come in there and use it. In fact, we leave it on at night, so sometimes people come and park in the parking lot and use it.
And they'll access your Wi-Fi.
They can access Wi-Fi.
I've been guilty of that, so I get it. I get it.
And we have hotspots that people can borrow and take to their home and connect to the internet that way too. So we try to provide that connectivity, which is really what libraries are for beyond just books. It's about ensuring that people have equal access to all this information that is so vital for our society.
So you have hotspots that I can take with me and use the hotspot in my home.
That's right. Yeah, you can check that out at the library, no cost to you. and we maintain those. And you might have to wait a little bit to have your turn.
Sure.
But we have a whole collection of those that we have patrons that use and take
That's
home.
very smart. You don't think about you think about taking books home with you, but you can take technology home with you
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And we have mobile services too. This is a big service that we provide as well, where we try to ensure that if you live in Wicomico County, you have access to the library. And one of the ways we do that is with our bookmobile.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we love our mobile services. So we have 3 vehicles. We have a bookmobile, which is a big RV coach full of books. And, it has regular stops where it goes around town, and it also goes to other towns out in the county to ensure that everybody has equal access to the library. We also have a mobile learning lab, we call it, which is also a really big vehicle that is full of technology. It's basically like a large space where we can set up a computer lab, we can set up meeting rooms, there's 3D printers on there, there's all kinds of very cool technology that we can go around the county and do programs based on experimenting and creating together with the technology that's there on the vehicle. We use that, for example, to partner with the courts and so that they take their family law center, which provides free legal support for people with family law cases to communities all around Wicomico, and that way they can have meetings on there and use the computers that are there, the internet that's there, to support people in the community that need those services.
Wow. So you don't even have to go to the library. The library will come to you.
We come rolling into town, that's right. And sometimes we will take both vehicles and set up, and basically you have a full service library that'll just show up in a place like Sharptown or Bivalve, and serve those communities there for the day that they're there.
That's fantastic. You're reaching the entire county.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
Yeah, if you live in Wicomico, that means that your tax dollars are supporting the library.
Yes.
So you should have the same access, even if you don't live in Salisbury. You should have access to the library. We really believe that.
And I think when you talk about technology, the audiobooks, it reminded me of a friend who doesn't really read books, but will listen to books like all day long in their car. Some people like to have something in their hands, and others, they're fine with just listening to it.
That's right. Yeah, we don't care about the medium that you prefer to access. We really advocate for reading. We think it's a great activity that can enrich your life.
Yeah.
But if you'd rather listen to the book, or if you'd rather watch a movie, we have streaming services that are free too, so you don't have to subscribe to Netflix or other products like that. You can stream movies over the internet by accessing those services through the library's website with your library card.
This is all free.
Yes, certainly.
And I just keep wanting to say that because it's a lot, but you don't have to whip out your credit card.
It's amazing if you think about it, the tradition of public libraries in our country, because it's been going on for decades, for hundreds of years in some cases, where the community decided, you know what, these resources are too important just to be for the wealthy people who can afford it. This really should belong to everybody, and the tradition of that, is really remarkable, and I'm proud to be a part of it, and certainly proud to advocate for continuing that level of support.
Let's talk about advocacy, because what comes to mind for me is all of the news about book bans and how what kind of stand does your library take? I say our library, we should say. How do you advocate on behalf of the community? Right,
yeah. You know what? I love this community, Wicomico, because we have not had major issues with people who push us hard to remove books from the library. I've been here for almost 4 years now, and it really hasn't come up.
Okay.
We have everything, but I feel like there is enough of a freedom-loving tradition here in this community that people understand that there is going to be things in the library that are not for them and not for their children, but that other families would like to have access to, including perhaps for their children, and that you can always go in there and find the things that you want. We all have books that we love and we care about, and we're glad that the library has those items and has provided access to everybody in the community. But we don't take too much offense at people who may want to read different books or care about different books. Everybody has different perspectives and different beliefs.
Sure.
And I believe the library should not take sides, and just ensure that people have access to the things that they want to read. So that's the approach we've taken, not using the library to advocate for any political opinion or viewpoint, but to ensure that all those viewpoints can be heard and are represented in the library. So for what it's worth, we have not had those issues come up here in Wicomico where we've had to have big public fights about what kind of books we have in the library.
That's good to hear. And it's actually about access to education, period, because that's what the books in the library do for us.
Yes, and also entertainment. I mean, I think we should be open about that. Like, some books are just for fun. Some materials, you're not going to really learn a lot from reading them, but you're going to have your mind stimulated, and you're going to have fun learning about other people and things. And that's what libraries are for, too. They're not just for education. They're also for just having a good time, and we try to cater to all tastes.
And this is kind of an off-the-wall question, but I remember you playing the piano outside. What was that? I'm curious. I know I am kind of getting off point, but what you were playing a piano outside, and there were people standing. Like, what happened?
Yeah, that's part of the library, just being a place to have fun, right?
Okay.
A place for the library, just you can go in there and be creative. We did that last summer, where we had somebody donate a piano to the library. Oh. So the kids painted it, in bright colors, and we set it up outside the library. We put it on wheels so it could be rolled in and out real easy. And so it was out there all summer long, and people could just stop by and play. It was really cool because you would just hear random people sit down and play beautiful music. And so to promote it, yes, I don't play well, but I can play loud. Yeah. So I put on a little show just to see that you can have fun with this, and that got some attention.
That's a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, it was great.
It's outside the box.
Yeah, we need to do that again. That was a lot of fun.
I think so too. And welcoming other people to just come forward and share,
right, exactly,
their skills.
Right, yeah. People had a lot of fun with it.
I know that, there are programs out there and organizations that have been cut federally. How is the library faring there with any cuts from the federal government? That's
right, and we have had some patrons ask about that have read things in the news. There's some uncertainty about how it will impact us directly. We are aware that some of our funding, especially for innovative programming, sometimes for professional development, we've been able to tap federal funds for that in recent years. We've also been able to tap federal funds for technology-related projects.
Okay.
But yes, there is a major agency within the federal government that has been eliminated, that over the last several years we have tapped for hundreds of thousands of dollars that we may not be able to access anymore, at least for the time being. We're going to be okay, and because there's a lot of support for our public libraries in the state of Maryland and here in the county, that we don't have to rely on it. But it will have some impact on our library, perhaps in ways that you don't really see too much, because it's more about training for staff and for the kinds of things, the projects we have to do that are really behind the scenes in terms of studies or investigating potential projects.
But then who governs the library? Like who's calling the shots? If you get money from the feds, but you have a lot of local support too, who's really making the decisions there?
Libraries in Maryland are really well supported, I mentioned, by the state, but they're set up to be closely tied with the county government.
Okay.
So we're really a part of the county government more than anything. All of our library properties are owned by the county. Our county board, which is the group of people that set the budget and also hire my position and make decisions about the strategic direction of the library, those persons are appointed to their position by the county council and by the county executive. And a significant portion of our operational funds come from the county government's budget. We also receive an appropriation from the state. But with those two entities, the state of Maryland and Wicomico County, that's the lion's share of where our funding comes from, and that's also how the library is governed.
So the board, when you say this is the library board,
yes,
underneath the county council,
correct,
per se.
Yes,
okay,
right.
Okay,
yes, that have been appointed, each of them to serve a term on the library board by the members of the council.
Yeah, let's get people who are actually invested and interested to serve on that board to do
Right.
what's best for.
I will tell you, it is a great group of people because,
Okay.
yes, they're the kinds of people who have expressed an interest in serving the library. They really want to serve their community. You know, it's a volunteer thing. They're just doing it because they care about the library. And they've stepped up and said they'd be willing to do this. You actually apply to be a library board member, and then those names are vetted by the board itself and then nominated to the council.
Okay.
So these are people that have really stepped up to serve their community and, you know, attend a lot of meetings and answer a lot of email threads and know all the library's business, but are demonstrating a real heart for public service and belief in the mission of the library.
Now, I know that, you know, I live in this community, I work in this community, and, you know, a lot of people, they see, you know, a homeless population who definitely leans and depends on the library. But, you know, let's talk about safety. Let's talk about, obviously, it's moving from downtown, but you're still going to have a downtown location. You know, families should feel safe when they walk into the library.
Yes, they should.
It's a no-brainer.
Yes, they should. Yeah, and people should also feel welcome in the library. Of course, it's a public space, so anybody that wants to can come in, and as long as they follow the rules that we have in terms of code of conduct for patrons, then we don't have an issue. But yeah, sure, the library is going to always have some number of people that are there because they really don't have any other place to go.
Right.
And we have tried to do everything we can to ensure that anybody can come in and feel safe and feel like it belongs to them too, that it's not necessarily being taken over by any one group of people who dominate it and take up all the seating, for example. We've also set up a community support center in the library that has a person who is being trained as a social worker and who connects with people that way. So we're not just being passive about supporting their needs.
Okay.
They're helping connect them with the community resources that are available for them, whether it's housing, whether it's food, whether it's job search help, you know, or even just trying to figure out how to read a document if they have literacy challenges. Okay. So that is something that we're really focused on and will continue to do in both locations, downtown at the new locations. As long as Salisbury has a population of people without a home, they're going to have a home in the library. That's just a fact. And we're going to try to serve everybody. But we have placed a premium on ensuring that if you're a family with young children, come into the library, you're not going to have to go through a cloud of smoke to get there.
Right.
You're not going to have to stand around and wait for a chair because people are sleeping in the library. Those kinds of real issues we try to take on and deal with directly. By having a reasonable set of guidelines for how you conduct yourself in the library. Sure. It's a public space, but that doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want, because it belongs to everybody too.
And the, you know, library, shh.
Yes.
How quiet is it in your library?
I would say most of the time, probably not all that quiet in certain areas of the library.
There's certain areas for quiet, and then you can speak a little louder.
And the floor plan at the current downtown library is really open, so I can understand why people might have that concern about the downtown library, is that it's hard to go in there and find a quiet area, because it's a very busy place. Like any typical afternoon, you can go in there and there's probably 30 or 40 people, all different backgrounds in there using the library together. And you have to share it with them. And sometimes there's kids, there's teenagers.
You can tell them to be quiet. The kids are going to do what they're going to do.
That's right. I am looking forward to that with the new location, because we are going to have designated areas that are really set off from the other areas that are just quiet reading lounges that can feel like a really sacred space for quiet. That's something that we probably lack right now downtown, just because of the layout of the building.
Okay. That's important, I think, for a lot of people, because they want to consume that book, and if they're distracted, you know, they need a space for that.
I think for people who care about that now, they know when to not come to the library.
Yeah.
Like just time of day kind of thing. Because if you come in the morning, it's going to be a lot quieter than if you come in, you know, afternoon.
And will there be outdoor space?
Yes, you know that space over there at Shoemaker Pond, and how there's, you know, decks all around outside and walking trails. 10 acres that go almost all the way around that pond will belong to the county. So we're really excited about developing that too. including, yes, programming spaces where you could have story times outside, or we're looking forward to partnering with folks to carry on the tradition that the Ward Museum was famous for, with providing environmental education and conservation science education, to partner with other groups to provide that and carry on that, because it's the perfect place for it.
Could I host an event there?
Yes, you could.
Okay.
Yes, we'll be inviting you to host an event. In fact, you could do some of your interviews there in the beautiful spaces there, because we have all those windows that look out over the pond. So it would be a really cool place to showcase the community, and I think that's something we can all look forward to, because it really is an iconic structure that has come to be a point of pride for the community, even when it was less accessible than it will be when it's a public library.
Will there be any remnants of the Ward Museum?
Yes, we're looking forward to that too.
Okay.
Because we have, in fact, I had a meeting just a few weeks ago with the curator for the museum, for the collection, because of course they have a space downtown now.
Yes.
And there's going to be rotating exhibits, including some permanent exhibits in the library from the former Ward collection.
That's great.
So that if you really did love that collection and loved going to that space to see it, because it did fit so well there, you'll still be able to do that on a smaller scale and see some of the premium parts of the collection there in its former home and what will be the future library.
I understand that you're swapping properties with Salisbury University. What does your partnership with SU look like?
Yes, we've really enjoyed working with Salisbury University on this arrangement. We think it's very mutually beneficial for them, because this structure did belong to the community, and in this way, by partnering with the library, we're able to keep that as a public civic building that is still incredibly accessible to the public, and that the use of it as a public space carries on. And I think that was something that mattered to them, even as the museum was closing. Meanwhile, they have a space that if we were to build it would have cost us tens of millions more than it's going to cost us to renovate it, so we can provide a world-class library at a fraction of the cost it would have been for us to build that. It would have honestly been out of reach for us, at least in the short term, for us to provide that kind of a library space for the public. Meanwhile, they own the collection, most of the collection that was there, and so we've arranged with them to providing rotating exhibits of that, of the ducks and the other various features there. Some of which you can see also will rotate in the space downtown in the new museum that's located in the Powell building, but you'll be able to see those features of that collection also at the library when you visit that, like in the local history room that we're setting up, but also just around the library. Those exhibits will be a permanent part of the library.
If you don't know enough, or you just moved here, then you want to go learn more about your community, I think the library is a great place to go. Yeah,
for sure. It's a place where you should really feel at home in your community and also be able to celebrate the parts of your community, the features of it that are really unique and unlike any other place. And I think that building, that facility is going to really allow us to do that in a way that is really going to establish our community as having a library that's better and unlike any other place that you've seen, especially with the pond being there too, and all those outside spaces. We can be really proud of our library.
I think about kids in high school, even middle school. They're used to their library in their schools. Will you partner with the public school system to offer, I don't know, trips? Let's say before they go off to college, they need access to bigger libraries so they can see and know how to navigate them.
Right.
Will you work with the school system?
Yeah, we're right across the street from one of the major high schools there.
Parkside.
And we're also really close to a lot of the other schools in the community, closer than we are being downtown, and more accessible. So I think that will transform what the library feels like, especially after school when those kids come across the street or from the other schools.
They're so close.
And we're giving a lot of thought and attention to that in terms of the design of the building as well.
Okay.
So that they can have their own part of the building which feels like home to them too. They can come over and just hang out and do whatever they want to do after school, whether it's gaming or just being together or playing games together. That's going to make it a really cool space too. And I feel like the community will be really proud of that too, and feel like they're doing right by their children by offering this resource.
It's a safe place to go hang out after school. You're not going to get in trouble. You got to follow the rules.
Yes. Yes. You might get in trouble with the librarians that shush you a little bit.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Yes.
But I'd rather have my kid at the library than out on the street.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. We're really excited about creating a community of library-loving teenagers that are coming from the high schools after school too.
Well, let's talk about the timeline. When are we? All of this is really fabulous stuff. But when is this rolling out?
The first big thing that's going to happen next is the Lewis Riley Library that will open later this year or early next. And again, that's new construction, purpose designed as a library. So we're going to be cutting the ribbon on that in a matter of months. And really
That's Parsons. That's the Parsonsburg.
That's the one that's in Parsonsburg.
Okay.
Yes. The one that will the Shoemaker Library project. Of course, when we move it, it's going to be the Sarbanes Library, but we're referring to it now as the Shoemaker project.
Okay.
That will not open until 2027. Right now, the design is underway, but we won't have access to all the funding we need from the state until into next fiscal year.
Okay.
And so the construction won't begin for several more months. And it'll take a couple of years to get all of that done because it is a very big project.
Yes.
So we're looking at into 2027 before that library will open to the public.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we're going to keep doing what we do downtown.
That's right. They're not closing the doors,
No.
and we have to wait for you to
Right.
open the new doors.
That's right.
Okay. That's exciting. Seth, thank you so much
Yeah,
for,
thanks, Jenny. Thanks for
joining
the
us.
opportunity to come in.
And I think, I just heard you say I can take this show on the road when the library is up and open.
Oh,
and
yeah, that would be so cool.
All right.
You could film some episodes there at the library.
We'll have a PAC 14 studio.
Yeah, yeah. We do have, it's not a very nice space, but we do have a little filming studio at the downtown library that we'll pick up and move.
Okay.
We do podcasts and stuff there, or community members come in and use it for that.
What a great resource.
Yeah, so we're glad to have that too set up. So because we do have some community members that like to record podcasts.
Sure. Well, I wish you the best.
Thank you, Jenny.
And I'll
You too.
keep looking
Yeah.
out for the headlines on all of this
Yeah, good. Thank
new
you.
stuff. There you heard it, folks. We're going to have to take the local lens on the road and air from the new Wicomico County Public Library when it opens in 2027. But in the meantime, the downtown branch remains open and all are welcome. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Local Lens.